Hello and welcome. This is the third battle today. I've had so many troubles recording and showing you guys this battle, so it's just been a source of endless frustration, this battle, with audio constantly cutting out in the middle of recording and me just continuing to record and talk and everything in the belief that it was still, recording the sounds. No. So if I might not be, very excited while talking about this, that's why. And I might forget a ton of things, but let's just go ahead with it. So right now I'm using continuous transmission, unlike last time where I used push to talk, because my recording software tends to cut out the last half second or something of every time I use push to talk, and that means you just lose parts of the audio here and there. Anyway, let's get on to the battle. This is the Battle of Rome, and it's a distinctive battle, a consequential battle. There we go. But it's not a fairly balanced battle as such. And so I thought when I started this battle that I was going to win pretty much no matter what. I was being very confident of my victory. But as you will see, it will not be as easy as I first anticipate. So the battle is going to take place over this gatehouse with Falling Gate and these two sections of the wall. The rest is not going to be relevant at all. Attacking is a full stack army of mine with another half stack full of infantry coming in for support, and defending is the pretty sizable garrison of something like 10 units or 8 units or so. So let's take a look at the attacking force for starters. Now I've done this like four times already, so I might forget something or just tend to skip over it. Anyway, for the attackers, they have 4 big siege towers here and a ram that they're going to use to break down the gate with. For the siege towers, mercenary folksmen, excellent attack abilities, good against heavily armored Romans, very poor on defense, and against missiles, as you can see, they have no armor at all. They're in the front line because they're mercenaries, and mercenaries are expendable. A second unit of them here. Over here we have some Ostrogothic sword band, a slightly depleted unit. They are not great melee infantry, but they're okay, they can hold their own. And for the final unit in the siege towers is is a Gothic warband unit. 131 men. These are decent melee infantry. And if you'll remember from the last battle with the Goths, these were the men that really won the day against the Romans on the field there. And pushing the ram is another mercenary unit of pikemen, mercenary Germanic pikes, very lightly armored, not very useful at all. That's why they're pulling the ramp. I'm expecting these guys to get shot to pieces. For the back, I have 5 units of archers. That's a little bit overkill, but that's because I haven't really had the time to reorganize my armies. I just pull all units together and rush them towards Rome in this instance. And then for backup infantry, let's start over on this side. More Gothic warband, excellent infantry, Gothic warband, some Germanic navy, not exactly excellent infantry, but they'll do for now. Another unit of Germanic levy, and down here is, somewhat uniquely for the Ostrogoths, a unit of comitatensis spears. Now, if you know Attila Total War, you'll know comitatensis spears is actually a Roman unit, but Ostrogothic, the Ostrogothic kingdom can recruit Roman units from Roman military buildings, even if it can't create the military buildings themselves. So that means if you keep the military buildings, you'll actually be able to recruit Roman units. So in this instance, there's Romans fighting for the Ostrogoths against Romans for Rome itself. Slightly confusing, but okay. Then there's a general here, Germanic nobles, nothing particularly strange about that. The general this time has decided to actually get a helmet. This is one of the smarter ones, clearly.
Holy wrath, fill your hearts with courage and storm these walls.
A fiery speech from the general.
Our reinforcements arrive. Victory indeed.
Yes. And then there's also a couple of units of skirmisher cavalry, not very relevant for this battle. We'll focus on the rest of the units. While the Goths are moving closer, let's take a look at the defenders. So out here on the right side, from the defender's perspective,
The enemy are losing ground.
we have a unit of Protectoris Domestici, very heavily armored melee infantry. These guys are excellent for defense and excellent against anybody who doesn't have armor-piercing weapons. And also they have slightly neon blue shields for some reason. I think that must be the mod. Anyway, there's also 4 units of Palatina. Well, if I remember correctly, these are actually not Romans, but barbarians recruited into the Roman army. They're also great units, slightly less armored than the Protectoris Domestici, but with greater offensive capabilities, higher melee attack and higher melee damage. There's another unit of Palatina here. Some, oh, let's just pause the rest of the battle. Praeventoris, which is basically scouts in light armor, not with great melee abilities or anything of the sort. And they wear funny hats, which, you know, that's great. Anyway, moving on. More Palatina, more Praeventoris, another unit of Protectoris Domestici, with the Roman general, I believe it. I think it's this guy or one of the other units. Up on the walls themselves, crossbowmen have garrisoned the walls and are now shooting out at the Goths. The Goths have moved up, or I have moved up my archers in order to suppress the crossbowmen. Crossbowmen are great on a wall, usually speaking, and they're great against infantry if you just give them enough time, because the pure damage of the crossbows are really great, but the fire rate is quite low. So they're a little bit susceptible to being shut down by archers, like in this instance. However, the walls really protect them well, and so far, despite the fact that there's like 5 units shooting on them, they've only lost a single man. And the Goths are losing more. So from Malta's perspective, this is thinning out the ranks of the attackers a little bit. From my perspective, I am suppressing the defenders, making sure that my siege equipment can get closer, and also taking out a few crossbowmen in the process. The siege towers themselves are moving closer, and so is the ram. The ram has actually almost gotten to the wall, or to the gate, I'm sorry. There's a siege tower going right here immediately left of the gatehouse, and another one immediately right, and a second or a third siege tower further down this wall, and a 4th further down this wall. Now, I wish you could draw in these replays like you could in Rome, but as far as I see, there's no longer that option, which is too bad. Anyway, Ultra has shifted fire of his crossbowmen to the infantry pulling this ram. And since they are very lightly armored, they are easy pickings. Also, their close formation makes them easy to hit. Oh, as I told you, I was being very overconfident or confident with this battle, because I just had so many more men, and I could frankly have auto-resulted and gotten a fine result. But I wanted to play this battle because, you know, for fun's sake, it was the taking of Rome, and that'd be great, you know, to actually have a fight over the walls of Rome. Speaking of which, here comes the first Goths. Still have trouble pronouncing that. Folksmen are on the walls, ready to fight with Palatina, who decide to stand over here. I don't know why. While they are fighting, an Ostrogothic sword band has also emerged onto the wall, fighting against some Palatina. Palatina is a great unit with both good armor, good melee defense and missile block, and also good melee attack and melee damage. These units will be hard for the Goths to break through. Folksmen, as I said, are great offensive units. They have an excellent charge bonus, but that's not really too much use here when you're fighting on the walls and you can't really charge. Still, they're quite dangerous. The other 2 siege towers are here as well. The Gothic warband just jumped onto the walls. And over here, another Gothic Falsmen are now fighting. Also, the gate itself is broken, and the Goths are about to enter. First unit will be some mercenary pikemen, the ones pulling the ram itself. For the Romans, the general himself is holding the gate, putting his men in a shield wall formation. ready to strike back the Goths. Now, if you've played Total War Rome 2 but not Attila, you might think that this pike formation is excellent against a bottleneck like this one, but in Attila, pikes are absolutely useless, and so there is no difficulty at all for the Protectoris Domestici to simply close in and cut down the pikemen. Now, some of the Volksmen have already broken. The Palatina are really wrecking them quite hard, losing only 30 men in the process. Over here it's a little bit the same. The lack of armor is just really a problem for the Volksmen when you're fighting here on the wall. But, you know, they're mercenaries. At this point I'm thinking, so what? I can just get some more, you know. They're easy to buy, and the more mercenaries that die, the fewer you have to pay. So, that's good for me. More Goths are sent up on the walls over here. This time is a unit of Germanic levy. This Gothic warband, while being very confident or competent, melee infantry, when they're fighting against units like Protectoris Domestici with very high armor, they have a bit of a problem because they use swords mainly, and swords are just not that great at getting through armor. You need axes for that here in Attila. But they're slowly cutting their way through. Crossbowmen are supporting the Protectoris Domestici, while my archers are supporting the Gothic warband. The Volksmen flee out on the far right side, so I'm sending up some more units. Speaking of which, I've also received my reinforcements, which got into the field from over here. Now, again, I was being overconfident, so I thought there was no need for me to break down this gate. If I could redo the battle, I would definitely have taken a unit back over here with a ram and broken down this gate to open up a second flank around Ulta. But anyway, that didn't happen, and so we have this pretty pitched battle for the walls. One key piece of information here is that there's more or less a time limit on these siege towers, and that's because the fort towers, as you'll notice here, are loosening fire arrows out of the is that called arrow slits, or just the windows, and they tend to hit the siege tower, which slowly builds up fire damage. So right now this one is at 77%, and once it reaches 100% damage, the siege tower will start to break down. And when that happens, the Goths will have one less place to get in from, and then slowly only the gate itself will actually be the only spot for the Goths to get in through, which is obviously worse because they can just be bottlenecked then and get slaughtered. As for the numbers on both sides, I featured 3,500 in the beginning, and the Romans about 1,500. I've lost 1,000, and the Romans have lost about 500. So it's been some heavy casualties on my side, and they are only going to continue to pile up. These are two Roman units coming to tensor spears against Palatina. Near the gate itself, the Volksmen are cutting their way through the Protectoris Domestici. Now this is a place where Volksmen are used well, because their high weapon damage, armor piercing damage, I might add, is great against the Protectoris Domestici's high armor, and so they are cutting them to pieces. I think I forgot to mention about the larger strategic situation in the campaign at this point. So at this point, this taking of Rome is actually before the last battle you saw, so the chronology is a little bit off, but that was just for more, the narrative effect of it. So the Ulta is still fighting in the north against the Abdanians and is trying to take them on. I've established a capital in Tarentum, I believe the city's called, down in southern Italy, kind of a port city or a naval city, and I'm fighting against the Romans for Italy itself. You might think I'd be heavily outnumbered, but there are other Germanic and Gothic and barbarian tribes trying to carve out a kingdom from the Western Roman Empire, and so it's kind of a race between the various tribes who can create the larger kingdom. And so far I've set my sights at southern Italy, and if I manage to take Rome here itself, I'll be able to take central Italy as well. The north of Italy is pretty much already conquered by the Visigoths. Anyway, on to the battle itself again. This siege tower has burned down to the ground, and so there's one less place for the Goths to get through. My archers have decided to focus fire over the walls, which is great, you know. Archers and Attila are basically like artillery. Doesn't matter if you can see the enemy or not. This siege tower is also taking quite a bit of damage, and I move a unit up as quickly as I can, in the hopes that I might get up there before the fire damage reaches 100%. Over here, fire damage is not nearly as high. There's some competent sensitive spears fighting against a mix of Palatina and Praeventoris. The gate is buckling under the pressure of the Goths. There's a lot of arrows flying over the lightly armored Praeventoris, as you can see. Not fun to be a Roman today. And the general himself is having trouble with this mix of Goths. Some of them are pikemen, some of them are folksmen, some of them are Gothic warband units. And they're proving difficult for the Romans to kill. On the walls, however, the Romans still have the upper hand. The competent spears just can't break the Palatina. Over here it's pretty much a fair fight between Palatina and competent spears. Oh, there goes one guy. I think that's the officer of the Palatina, by the way. Stabbing away at the Roman traitors, I suppose you'd call them. And since this siege tower is gone, all of the units I've placed up here has been slaughtered. And this one is also... it has a quite high fire damage. I'm trying to move another unit up through this siege tower before it's too late. These two Gothic warbands are finally about to break through the Protectoris Domestici, but it's taking so long. And I'm also running a little bit low on reserve infantry. I only have this unit of competent spears, and then units that are rallying over time. So at this point I'm starting to realize, okay, I may be in trouble here. There's only about 500 Romans remaining, but they've killed 1,700 or 800 or something. So they've killed a lot. These crossbowmen are loosening some bolts into this Gothic warband with great effect. The Gothic warband, however, managed to finally break the Protectoris Domestici and are soon to move for the gate in order to take the gatehouse itself.
Our men return to the fight.
Down here, the... oh yeah, I think I missed it. Oh, too bad. The Roman general himself broke from the battle and decided to route through the gate and out rather than into the city. Not a very smart choice, so his unit was thoroughly shattered, but I think the general himself may have survived, I'm not sure. The Romans seem pretty unaffected by it at least, and they've moved some reinforcements from the walls down to the gate. These are the men that defended the walls against the Folksmen and similar, the Palatina units. Excellent infantry again. And most of the Goths here break. The Gothic warband, who was previously out here on the side, are then moved in towards the gate itself. But the crossbowmen are really being dangerous to them. They're just killing a lot. And as so, they break. And when they decide to break, they decide to run out through the gate as well, which means a lot of them end up getting cut down as well. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, Ramses, you blew it. You're not gonna take Rome. Or you might not take Rome. So I don't really know what to do at this point. The siege towers are almost all burned to the ground. This one only has like 2% more. Ulta still has quite a number of infantry. I'm running out of infantry. I mean, I still have a lot of men alive. It says I have 1,500 men. The problem is that's mostly archers, with no arrows, by the way. So I'm running out of options here. And the last unit on the walls break and run. The Palatini are victorious. But the fight for the walls ended up being very bloody. This unit are coming to Tensa Spears. It's just idling because I didn't realize they rallied, so they're just standing here getting shot. No fun at all for the comitatenses. As for the gate itself, my last infantry is being sent in an effort to break through. There are not many Romans left, so I might be able to simply cut them down. Also, realizing that he now has control over the walls again, moves his crossbowmen back up onto them in order to shoot down on the enemy.
Unit is running from the enemy.
I move in some infantry. At first I had hoped to use the siege tower, but the fire damage is pretty high.
Run from the enemy. This is shameful.
And Comitatense spears are falling rapidly to crossbows.
A unit has fired all of its ammunition.
Some more of my archers run out of arrows. At this point, the only units I have left is the infantry here, the 2 generals, and some cavalry. At this point I decide, fuck it, I'm gonna take Rome, no matter the cost. So I decide to send in the generals, even though I might lose the generals because of it. That's still gonna count as a victory in my book. Ulta now sees that he has an opportunity to use his crossbows against the general, and soon he decides to start shooting at them. The battle continues for the gate. Romans fighting Romans for Rome itself. Oh, that was a beatdown. Spear through the stomach, then a shield to the face, and then the spear once again through the chest. Ow. Okay, the crossbows are hitting one of the generals. I'm not sure if you heard that exchange, but it sounded like these unwashed bastards, they're fighting back. And another man answered, yeah, enemies tend to do that. So, nice little detail. I'm sending up some skirmisher cavalry to suppress the crossbowmen. I know they won't be very effective, but I just need to do something. Javelins being thrown at crossbows, but most of them are either bouncing off the walls themselves or just flying over. A few of them hit every once in a while. Yeah, there's one crossbowman just went down there, but it's not a lot. And cavalrymen are falling. One of the general has been sent in. His men are in a shield wall formation, and they seem to push in quite well. Some of the Romans break, and suddenly the odds are very much in the favor of the Goths. Many of the Romans seem to be wavering now. It could break at any moment. Yeah, there we go, they break. And remember, when they break, they do it through the gate, through their enemies, which means they're just going to get slaughtered all of them. Suddenly, the odds are very much in the favor of the Goths as they take the gate. Praeventorius has a brave charge to try and stop the advance of the Goths. They may be scout units, but they are very brave with hammer on.
The tower has fallen. Good news.
Fort tower goes down. That stone just disappeared through the ground. And the last of the units fight here. Oh, javelin to the shoulder. Didn't seem to care. That's okay. And that's it. That's the end of the battle. It was a bloody one, a very bloody one. If I can just quickly look through the battlefield, you see the walls here, they're just covered in blood. Now I hope the replay worked this time. Let's take a quick look at the losses and so forth on both sides. So you can't really see my reinforcing army, but you can see the main part of my army, and you can see all of Ulta's units. Now the main thing here is most of my units did pretty crap. You know, the Ostrogothic swordband with like 14 kills, the Germanic levy with 1 kill. My archers actually did surprisingly well, seeing as they got free reign to shoot loads of arrows over the walls and into the Romans. But even some of my better units of Gothic warband had lots of troubles. Whereas on Ulta's side, the 2 very heavy Protectores Domestici killed almost nobody at all, or very few. But the Palatina, they killed a lot. 197, 150 and 153. That's great KDs for these guys. But of course, the crossbowmen, 271 kills and 119. That's a lot of kills as well. So I managed to take Rome, and it was a glorious, although unnecessarily Pyrrhic victory. With the taking of Rome, I'm able to establish an Ostrogothic kingdom that's a more sizable, dangerous Ostrogothic kingdom that not only has southern Italy but also central Italy. And so from now I'm going to look westward to take some of the islands like Sardinia, Sicilia and Corsica in an effort to kind of expand my realm and get closer to Ulta as well. While I've made some strong alliances to the north with other Germanic tribes, like the Visigoths, but also the Quadians and some other I don't remember right now. I think some Roman breakaway provinces. So anyway, for the next battle, we're going to go back to Ulta, where he fights the Saxons. So thanks for watching.